Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakanis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
Happy New Year, Holly. How are you?
Happy New Year. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So, truth be told, listeners, it's Boxing Day. It's actually still December as we're recording this, but it's great to see you, Holly. And I assume you did not have snow for Christmas, you Southern California girl. But how was your holiday?
Well, it was 49 degrees this morning. I'll let you know. I was freezing, and then I felt bad for being so cold because everyone else is probably colder. But we had a great holiday. My son is 5 now, so all he could talk about was the 2 presents that he wanted and asked me how long it was till Christmas, about 400 times a day for the last month. But I'm very lucky because he only wanted like $20 gifts, and he's pretty easy to please. He only cares about Legos. So get the boy a couple boxes of Legos and he is over the moon, and got to see all 4 of his grandparents. And, you know, he doesn't really like to join in on the big feast, but he had a bowl of oatmeal and we all got to open gifts, and it was a wonderful day. How about you?
That's amazing. Well, first, I want to comment on the Legos because I was with family, and I have my niece married a wonderful young man. They've been together 4 years now. But anyway, we were talking about our favorite childhood gift that we ever received. And he said, I can't think of a specific one, but it was always Legos. And I thought about that because he is an engineer today and has a job that he loves and he's very good at, and it's a very secure profession. So obviously your son could do whatever he wants, but the Legos is a pretty good sign.
I told him that engineers build stuff, and so then he said that's what he wants to be when he grows up. So you're right on it.
That's so cute. Well, I had a wonderful holiday at the barn, and I was a winner of a major award.
Was it a leg lamp?
No, I kind of wish it was a leg lamp. But no, I got a beautiful journal with a horse on it, and a little, actually a gift card for a farm to table restaurant very close to the barn. I know.
You're reminding me, I got a horse bookmark. I'll show it to you, even though the listeners can't see it. It has a horse stamp. Remember those horse stamps that came out a few months ago?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got some of those. I don't know where they are now. But, yeah, so we had a little holiday barn party, and there was a Deck the Stalls theme, and my horse is named Knight. It's Knight with a K. Tis a Knight was his race name, and I call him Knight. And so I was thinking, like, okay, a Christmas Carol or hymn with Knight. Well, there's Silent Night. That's the obvious pick. I could have done that theme. But I went with my favorite Christmas song, Oh Holy Night. And so
that's my favorite too. I love it.
It is?
One.
Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I decorated the stall with, I kind of did I felt like I was doing bulletin boards as a teacher again. So I covered the stall door with black paper, and then I had this kind of star, kind of decoration hangy thing that said, Oh Holy Night. And then I got all this beautiful sparkly garland and hung it around and added lights, and then a white, which makes no sense for at a barn, but a white stocking. And yeah, so
that sounds awesome. Well, hats off to you, because I couldn't have come up with that amount of decor for a stall, but it sounds like it paid off with your major award.
I forgot to tell you the part that was the most complicated, which was how it came, the Oh Holy Night theme. It was like, I really want to get a page from like an old hymnal that has Oh Holy Night, because it's, kind of got that old fancy font and the music. And I just thought that would look really cool. And couldn't come up with anything. And then my sister said, go on Etsy, because Etsy has everything. So
yes,
I got this 8x10 downloadable, printable with Oh Holy Night and as like the music, like you were going to sing it in a church. And so thanks to FedEx, I was able to enlarge it to poster size. So it was like big on the stall door with all the others. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's on my Instagram if people want to see it. It's Saddle Seeks Horse on Instagram. You can see the fabulous stall.
Well, I saw it or the picture of it anyway. And I'm just not a decorator, so I was amazed. But
okay, so we've been talking about the holidays. So 2025, do you have goals?
Yeah, so I am firmly anti-resolutions, not my whole life, but, more recently, because I feel like you almost set yourself up to fail in a weird way, just like how you think about them and call them. So I like to say more of just, life goals that you want to do for any time, like not on a set schedule. But yeah, definitely mine would be more writing time, which I've been working on that one. I'm right now only about to do 1 day a week, since I have a young child and a very demanding job, and I would like it to be more. So that's sort of just putting it out there as an intention to pick up my writing a little bit. And, just like a million other things, I would love if I ate healthier and felt a little more energy. So that kind of thing, the usual. Susan, what about you? I feel like you're going to have a better answer.
No, it's not a better answer. We're all on our own journey, but I'm really excited. I just took a riding lesson. We have a trainer that is coming in and helping my trainer, and this newer trainer, her big thing is poles. So she does these very creative pole patterns, good for any discipline, but I ride in a dressage saddle. So it was a Boxing Day theme. So she had a box, like a square with the poles, and then she made a 24 out of poles. And so, I worked up a sweat. We were trotting around, and it was really neat to see, without like me having to do the work, to get Knight to use his back properly and to kind of relax into it. It was just the matter of once we got into a flow, kind of doing the patterns a few times, I could really feel his step improve and his stride felt really strong. And so that was cool. And so the goal that goes with that is my sister has returned to the saddle. And there's pictures of her also at Saddle Seeks Horse on Instagram. And so we had the lesson together. We have, where I am, a regional dressage kind of club, I guess you would call it. And they do virtual shows January through April. And so you can ride a dressage test and send the video in and then get the feedback. And I did it a couple of years ago and I got blue ribbons. I was probably like the only person in that very intro test. So I told my sister, I'm like, we need to do these tests, and just like, it's not hard. Someone at our barn actually does videography for horse shows, and she's very good at it. And yeah, so I'm going to dabble in some virtual shows. Maybe I'll get to an actual show in real life later this summer. And I'm excited because 2025 is the 100th anniversary of the Wild Chincoteague Pony Swim Pony Penning Week. So I will be heading back to Chincoteague to represent and talk about Marguerite Henry and my book, Marguerite, Misty, and Me. And there's just a lot of fun in store for this.
Man, and I wish I could go to this one. It is a goal of mine, not for a specific year, but to definitely go to the pony swim. I know you're like our resident expert now. You've been, 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. So,
there's people that have been going their whole life, but
of people that I know. So I just remember your warning about the mosquitoes. That stands out tall in my mind of like, no matter what you think you're prepared for, those mosquitoes are going to get you. So I will try to be prepared. Speaking of 100, something that's not quite 100, not even close actually, is 89-year-old Monty Roberts, who is our guest today on Barn Banter.
Yes, he is definitely someone you will all want to hear his wisdom, his life stories, and just the work that he's been doing to make the world a better place, not only for horses, but for people.
That's right. And we know if you're listening to this podcast, you, I'm sure, are familiar with the name Monty Roberts, and we will hear a bunch of stories that I had never heard before. And I just love his storytelling because it's, I don't know, it's very emotional. And I really just was fascinated, just hanging on to every word. So hopefully you will enjoy this interview. And Susan, tell us what his upcoming project, or I should say, recent project that is now out.
Yeah. So there is a documentary called The Cowboy and the Queen, and it kind of explores his life and training techniques, and it's about an hour and a half long. So as you can imagine, if you someone like him has been working with horses his entire life, it's just maybe the Cliff's Notes on his nonviolent training method. So I've watched it a couple times now, and it's beautifully done. And I think the message is a really just a hopeful, and I don't know, I think horse people will enjoy it. So
yeah, and he has several books out. Another book that he will talk about that is upcoming, and on his website, which is montyroberts.com, his courses. So that's there for anybody to learn from if you're interested in more and learning about his techniques. That is definitely a place to go visit. And with no further ado, here is our interview with Monty Roberts.
For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barnbanter.
Well, we are delighted to have a famous man who listens to horses with us here on Barn Banter today. Welcome, Monty Roberts. It's so fun to have a chance to chat with you. Thank you for joining us.
It's fun to be with you and to talk about the things that mean so much to me in my life, but are becoming to mean quite a bit in the lives of anybody that deals with horses or children or recalcitrant wives or all that sort of thing I work with.
Full disclosure, I watched The Cowboy and the Queen twice to prepare to chat with you. One of the things from the documentary about your life and your nonviolent methods training horses, there was a little segment that talked about you as a stunt rider in National Velvet when you were a little boy. And I am curious if you met Elizabeth Taylor or what that was like being a stunt rider. It sounds kind of exciting.
Okay. Well, for this little boy, it was exciting. I can tell you that. And I had done probably 15 or 20 stunts as a child. And in those days, the war had just started. In those days, they couldn't make movies the way they did before. They couldn't have these big sets and stuff. And so the movies were made short, and they were often made with families and children and horses. And so my father rented me out for these things. Now, National Velvet was done in 1943. I was 8 years old, and I remember I had just finished one in a 17-mile drive in Carmel, California. I just finished one, and my father came in the next morning and woke me up and said, "We're going to Mendocino County, Northern California, and you're going to ride a horse over a bunch of fences. Okay, and you're going to ride a horse in the ocean, swimming." Now, I'm 8 years old, but that's how I was treated. And he said, some woman brought her daughter from England, and I think she's 12 or something like that, but you're about the same size, and she's in the hospital because the mother said she can do anything you want done. And they had her jumping over these fences across this farm up there, horse farm. And she wound up in the hospital. So when I got up to Mendocino County, I was driven up there, obviously. I'm 8 years old, and I never saw her. She was in the hospital, and you got to jump over these fences, and you got to jump in the sea and swim over there to that little island, and then we'll go home day after tomorrow. So we went home day after tomorrow, and I never saw her, nor did I know if the dang movie was ever made or not. They never told me about things like that. But anyway, about 25 or 30 years, maybe 40 years later, at Hollywood Park Racetrack, I was in the room up there where the owners go. And at that time, I was, 25 or 30. And a lady came up. I was getting some food off of this. And a lady came up and tapped my shoulder. And I turned like this. And she said, "Hello, I'm Elizabeth Taylor." Wow, you're a lot bigger than I remember you being in the movie. Yes, well, that was 20 years ago or whatever it was. And that's the only time I ever met her. But she had a long conversation, came to the table with me and had a long conversation about how she came up through the movies and the war was over and then she got good parts and everything worked well for her. So that was an interesting day for me.
That's remarkable. Well, Monty, I know the term I think of with you, obviously nonviolent training, but is this concept of join up. And I was curious, I assume most of our listeners will know who you are, but for anyone who is unfamiliar with join up, maybe give us a few of the core principles of your method of training.
Well, you have to know that I attended 4 universities, or actually 3. One of them gave me a doctorate, and I never was on the campus. They just read about me and they saw videos, and they gave me that. So knowing the horses the way I did was in Africa, where they took me to have me teach courses in the flight animal and getting along with the flight animal as a fight or flight animal. We can be either one. And so I got to, it became a habit for me to say, I want him to join up with me. I want him to decide to come to me. I want the horse to make a decision that human beings can be okay. Well, you're going to work a long time before you ever get that to happen. They were right about that. I worked a long time, and it has happened to a degree. I wish it was better, but it's after I'm gone, there will be a big movement, I believe, to taking the violence out of the training of horses.
So let's take a minute, and I would love to explore kind of the relationship you had with the Queen, because you're both very passionate horse people from different disciplines, different parts of the world. What was that like when you first were told that the Queen wanted to meet with you and have you come train? Do you remember the excitement or what you thought? Did you think, is this a prank?
You're asking me if I remember that the Queen got a hold of me to say, come over here. I remember every breath of it, And we had an event here. Debbie put an event on that had television going on these things, these computers. And there were stories written in magazines, too. 2 magazines for the thoroughbred horse, one in Florida and one in California. And she read both of them. They were sent to her. And she read both of them. And she called in her horse manager. And she said, I want you to take these 2 magazines home and read them and come back with your opinion as to what is this all about. So he took them home. He came back the next morning, threw them on her desk, and said, it's hogwash. You can't do what he put down here. They faked this with videos that they shoved around it, stuff, cut and pasted. And she said, that's really strange, because one of these authors is from Florida and the other from California, and 3,000 miles apart, they came up with exactly the same story. Well, it was true that those two men were here for an open house, and they did write for magazines for thoroughbred racehorses. And she said, now that you have stated that it's all a lie, I'm going to send you to California to his place, because it looks like a nice place in the videos. And I'll send you there, and you have him work with some horses. Try to get some horses that haven't had much done with them before, and work with them. Come back with your story about what actually happens instead of lies like this hogwash. And so he turned up here. It's a longer story about he knew the man that knew where I lived and so forth, and they came in a big limousine. Anyway, he started picking out horses, and then he saw each horse and would say, I want to see another one. I want to see another one. I want that one over there. And I went through the whole day, and he came back and he said, you know, Mr. Roberts, the Queen is going to want to see this. And nobody else on earth does it. So she would like you to come and stay at Windsor Castle and do some horses of hers. And I told Pat when we went back in, it's a fake. They found him at Central Casting, and they put this guy in saying he represents the Queen. And she said, well, play it straight and see what happens. We don't have to get too upset about it. Well, anyway, the tickets came in and all of the emails came flying through. I didn't even know what emails were. And anyway, we both went back there, and she had 23 horses in front of her windows at Windsor Castle in little fields, 3 or 4 horses in a field. And I was told by her horse manager, these horses have never been trained a day in their life. They came from, in a truck, they came from Ireland, and they rolled the truck on the ship and brought them over here, and we put them out there, and we have 24/7 guards on them to see to it that you don't come around and do something to get them ready for the Queen to see. Okay, so I'll take my shot. And the first one they brought me, she had given to her mother. So I didn't even know that at the time. It's a horse, a filly, about 14, 15 months of age, 15, 16 months of age. And she was accepting saddle and rider in 23 minutes. And the owner, that was her mother, the Queen Mum, she called her, came with tears streaming down her face out of the visual panel they have up above with a window where they can see through. And she threw her arms around me. You don't touch the royal family. But she threw her arms around me, and tears were streaming down. And she said, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And 2 men took her arm on arm and walked her out. And that's the last I've ever seen of her. She died about 6 months later. But I was obviously very impressed with them taking it up that way. And then the Queen came next. And the Queen appeared to be very distracted, and she was walking toward me, mumbling. And she was saying, Owen was right. Owen was right. I have such a guilty conscience. I have such a guilty conscience. Owen was right. He was right. And I didn't back him up. Well, Owen was her riding instructor. And her father fired Owen because he was trying to teach less violence. And she stepped aside and didn't support him and say, I want him back. And Owen went on, and he's in the book, The Queen Rides, and there's a story about him in there. But anyway, that began a situation where I did all 23 horses in 5 days. And it was the basis for a relationship that went on for 32 years.
Is there anything that I know a lot of people are fans of you, and people also are fans of the Queen. Is there anything that you would like to share about her as a horsewoman or just as a human being, not a royal, that people might find fun to know?
Well, first of all, she is a human being. She happens to be also a royal. That's the way it works over there. But I don't think she ever said to anybody, I'm a royal and you need to treat me differently. She was so straight with me. It was unbelievable. And so quick to defend me. When I finished with the first horse, they had a break for lunch, and the Queen sent her manager and Pat and myself off to this lunch. Maybe Pat didn't go, I don't know, but I went off to lunch down in the gardens below Windsor Castle. And the phones were going off. All these guys, these, bodyguards all around me, and they're on this. And I said, what's going on here? Oh, we've got a problem, because one of the military people that attended, and he was one of the leaders of the military group, he said it's all a fake. And he figured him out. And she's very upset with him more than with me, So we got up there, and I could see that there was a big problem. And she told me later that he told her, he has powder in his pockets. And he puts his thumbs in those jeans when he talks to you a lot of times. And he gets that powder under his thumb. And he blows it up their nose. And they go tranquil instantly. And she said, catch hold of this now. The Queen said, my, that's incredible. If it immediately tranquilized a 1,200-pound horse, what would it do to him? And so I went, oh my God, I don't want to touch this, And they said, she's very angry, and you'll see her standing. She wants to stand. She doesn't want to sit down with those military guys in the stand there. She wants to stand over there with her bodyguards and watch the next horse. And I did 5 days like that. And she told me, this guy with the thumbs, I have ordered him that he goes for 30 days, 18 stops. I must have done 100 horses in that 1 month. And she started sending all of her friends to come to my demos, which we had special chairs for, up front and everything. But her whole thing was how it really bothered her. And in the movie, the documentary that they did, you see her 6 years old or so climbing through the fence to rub the horse's legs and stuff. That was dangerous. And her mother and father both let her do that, So I talked a lot about staying safe and causing the horses to do things that didn't require whips and chains and stuff, and violence of any kind.
So that brings up kind of another question I wanted to ask. Throughout your career, you've had people who wanted it to not be true, or naysayers, or critique, and it goes into that in the documentary. But what has been your approach to just continue on and to not let that get you down and to just keep going with what you know?
Well, the Queen was still alive when all of that began, and she advised me a lot that I wouldn't have known as a non-worldwide figure of some sort, and she helped me through all of that. But you have to remember, if you're a horseman and you make your living training horses, and some yoke comes around and says, you shouldn't whip them, you shouldn't hurt them, you shouldn't put a chain over their nose and all of that stuff, we're out of business if this stuff gets away with itself. And in my own family, my father was so vicious with me. Vicious. I mean, he was a cop in the end during the war. He was a policeman. And he was so brutal to his oldest son, you have no idea how bad it was. And so I had to live through that and keep it to myself that I believed in working with these horses with no violence at all. It was a very difficult upbringing, and I was walking up this hill to this house in 1981, and I went down paralyzed from the waist down. I'm dragging my legs, and I went all the way through this house to the bedroom, and Pat came and found me and got me a doctor, and they put me in a ambulance kind of thing and took me to Orange County, where they were just coming in with some machines that had these tubes in them, and they roll you in the tube and they take a picture of the inside of all of your body. And this man that was in charge of all of that came out, and he stood over the top of me. I was unable to move. I could move my arms, but not my legs at all. And he said, "What the hell have you done to this body?" And I said, "Well, I rodeoed professionally for 25 years. I suppose I've done a lot of things to my body." No. He said, "We've got the whole team back here counting prepubescent fractures." That didn't happen in any rodeo. Before you were 12 years old, you had 72 fractures of your spinal area, or of your body. And it happens that the spinal area was the one that was causing my legs to go empty. So they sent me to another hospital in Los Angeles, and they did surgery of about, I don't know, 1.5 feet or so of my spine. And I can walk now. And I could walk within a month after that, I could walk around a little bit and wasn't so pained. But I knew who broke those bones. Nobody but my father broke those bones.
So what inspires you about horses? Because it seems like you still have such a passion. So what is it about horses that inspires you the most?
Well, it's about horses and deer, really, the two flightiest animals on earth. The deer are the flightiest. The horses slightly less fearful of people than horses. The deer are so flighty. And yet I have up to 22, 23 deer come to me that I call join up. And I have horses, all the horses that I work with do join up. They're much easier than the deer. The deer are the most flighty. If I could just let the world now know how important it is to live with these animals and not demand from them and break them, which is what they've said they do. Mm-hmm. And I go in March now down to Argentina for polo, because polo is going my way. And they are really putting violence down when they were one of the most violent sports on the face of this earth. So before I die, I'm apt to get to see a world really sliding my way and getting rid of violence.
I had a question too for you, Monty. You said you're 89, I believe. Are you planning to retire? Are you slowing down your schedule? Do you still teach? What's your day-to-day like? And do you plan to retire?
I am retired. And I'm doing a tenth of what I did normally in my adult life. Maybe not even a tenth. But I'm sitting here with you now, and it's a big time in my day. It's a big time.
Well, I'm glad to hear you've slowed down a little bit. That's good to know.
I still have things to do, but they are slightly different. I ride once in a while, a little bit, you know. But if you rode like me, you don't even think you're riding. You're just sitting in a saddle, gliding around, you know. But yeah, I stay as active as I can. Recently, an organization that publishes books asked me to do a book, and they said, please give us every incident in your life. My word. My wife and I and other people have helped too. And I don't know what we have now, but it's in the range of 80,000 words now. And I still have a couple more stories. And in March, I think it goes in for them to edit and produce. And I was amazed at how many incidences changed my life and stayed with me the whole time. Obviously, the Queen we've talked about. And obviously, the Queen's addition to my life by saying, I want you to go to these 41 countries. And I had a list, 41 countries to go to, and let them know that whatever they're doing with their horses can be changed, and it can release them, the horses, from any violence. And so I'm doing that, and it's starting to really take hold. Yeah. There's quite a few countries now where the whip can't be used in racing. So we're making a little progress anyway.
That's great. Monty, is there a title that or an estimated published date? Because I know our listeners will probably be curious to pick up your book when it's out.
Well, if there is a publishing date slated, I haven't heard it.
Oh.
But my guess is that they like to publish all books. I've done nine books, 8 books, something like that. They like to publish in the autumn. For some reason, they think that builds a book onto the holiday season and stuff like that. So I think they'll probably publish the book in September or October. Yeah.
And for people who are ready to learn from you now, maybe they're aware of you, but they really want to dig in and learn, where should they start? I know The Man Who Listens to Horses is the book that I probably hear about the most. Is that a good one to start with?
Well, that's a good start, yeah. But it is a book that brushes over the elements of my concepts. But we have courses here that really get into my concepts. And it seems lighthearted for most people now, but it was a life of hard work and success and without violence. So I'm happy. And I won't be here much longer, but I'm still happy.
Well,
awesome.
We're happy that you can talk to us, Monty. It's truly a privilege to be able to connect with someone who has, been so passionate about horses and doing what's best for them for a lifetime. So thank you very much.
Our adoptable horse this month is Gracie, a 15-year-old Arabian mare who has lots of great experience under saddle. She can do everything from barrel racing to jumping. So we are going to hear about Gracie. So today with us, we have Leslie Stewart, Executive Director for Wild at Heart Horse Rescue. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And our adoptable horse of the month that we will be talking about today is super cute. Her name is Gracie, and it looks like she's an Arabian. Pretty flea-bitten gray, that classic Arabian look. Will you tell us a little bit more about her and what she's doing? It looks like she is kind of amazing and doing a show already. So let's hear about her.
Yeah, we have taken her to a couple shows to showcase her. She's a great little hunter jumper. We've also taken her to some barrel races with some of the students of our instructor. She's just a great all-around horse. She goes out on trail calmly, walks on the street with traffic. You couldn't get a better little horse. She's not too big, not too small, and pretty safe horse.
Awesome. And it looks like she is 15 years old, or is it 16? So not kind of in that pocket where they have some life experience, but they're not a senior horse. So do you think she would be good for a kid or a beginner or more of an intermediate rider?
So far we've used her for lessons with some of our beginners. And then we've had some more advanced beginners take her to the show, and great for, all around, for kids, for teenagers, for adults. If you're going to take her out on trail or to the show, you don't need to know how to steer and use the brakes. But, in a small arena where we're giving lessons, she takes care of the kids on her back or the adults who are taking lessons.
Yeah, I watched her video going around at a show, jumping 2 foot or 2.6. Like, she is definitely what a lot of people are looking for, that has, some actual show mileage. That's amazing to see at a horse rescue, a horse that is just so ready to go. Do you know anything about her history or background?
She came from a local lady who, she's one of those livestock auction addicts. So she goes once a month and she finds a cute horse. She brings it home and she rehabs it, vets it out, does all the vaccinations, has their teeth done, feet done, and puts some miles on them. But unfortunately for her, she lives way, way out in the desert, probably about 60 miles farther out in the desert than we are. And she can't even give the horses away. So she donates them to our rescue. And then we put, more of our type of mileage on them. And, they're in full-time training with the trainers and then in a lesson program. And then we try to find them great homes. And, sadly for Gracie, she has been adopted before. And we adopted her to a really nice lady that was in the Navy, and she was stationed out here. And then she got deployed and she gave her to a friend of hers. And darn if my friend didn't find her at the auction again.
Oh.
And so we bought her back and brought her in. I mean, she was still in great shape, but, I think that they're not friends anymore.
Oh, wow. And that's
so we
such
got her here again.
Yeah, it's such a good, reminder of why, especially the Right Horse organizations, take back any horse they adopt out. If it needs to come back, that people need to know that they can send them back if they need to.
Exactly. It's part of our contract that, blind, crippled, or crazy will always take our horses back. So, she came back, she was still, well-trained, still in good shape. And we put her right back into our lesson program. She's done great. And just looking for the perfect home for her. And we've been encouraging people to remember that, you can always bring them back if it doesn't work out.
Wow. Well, I think that's just a great story to hear too. And just seeing a horse like this that has, all the life left in them for riding, for showing, for being a companion that just deserves to have that best friend for life,
He
taking
does.
care of them. It just pulled at my heartstrings. And I looked on the map. You're in Lancaster, California, which is about 2 hours from me. And so do you guys have a lot of horses being out in the desert there, or what's the kind of the model that you work on?
We actually, for our property size, we are allowed a maximum of 40 horses. And we always have 40 horses. So when one gets adopted, we have a waiting list of people that want to bring horses in. And, we're not only helping the horses, we're helping the people. We get a lot of, my parents passed away and this was their horse, or, the really sad ones is I have a terminal disease and can you take my horse for me? So, a lot of our horses, they came from loving families and they just fell on hard times and couldn't care for them anymore. So we try to give them a soft landing and a future. So we've got 3 full-time trainers here and the vet's out here every week. The farrier's here every week. The dentist is here once a month. So they're getting full care and hopefully great homes after that.
And I think that's another important thing people don't often think of with adoption, is that the horse may have come from a wonderful, loving, lifelong home and just some horrible circumstance happened to the owner. And it's not that the horse was neglected and pulled out of some horrible starvation or anything like that. But there are good horses out there that, adoption is just, it makes you feel good too, to know that you gave that horse a home, when it needed one. So
yeah.
That they're out there, these nice horses that this one has show miles. I mean, that's really awesome. So yeah, is there anything else you would like to say about the perfect home you'd be looking for, or just kind of sounds like she can go a lot of directions?
Yeah, she can pretty much go in any direction. I think for the best success, we're going to need, an advanced beginner to an intermediate rider, and they can, go straight into showing with her. They don't have to put a lot of their own miles on, it takes some time, get used to the horse, but she's kind of push button now and just ready to go.
Fantastic. And if people don't know, Lancaster looks like it's out kind of between Bakersfield, north of LA, east, kind of.
Correct.
That type of direction. So if people are in that area, and I think it's a surprise to a lot of people how many horses we have in California, Southern California. There are so many horses and you're not really aware of them, but they are definitely out here. So
yeah, definitely have a lot of equestrian areas still in the LA area. And you're right. We're about an hour north of LA and probably about 45 minutes east of Bakersfield.
Yeah, so it's a great spot for probably a lot of our listeners are in California too. So hopefully someone will contact you soon.
We've got some great facilities here that, for test rides, we've got jump arenas, we've got barrel arenas, we've got round pens. So, whatever they're comfortable with, we have the trainers out to supervise a test ride.
Awesome. And then it looks like if someone's interested in contacting you guys, should they go to the Right Horse link? We'll put that in the show notes. And then it looks like that goes through to an email straight to you so they can ask any questions they might have. So that's
exactly.
So hopefully we'll get some people reaching out. But thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you, Holly.
Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.